Good day and welcome to Rome 2, 2 vs 2 multiplayer. This is my Roman general. I am, of course, Southern Wolverine. And here is my Roman army. Over here is the Bactrian forces under command of Patrick O'Brien. My forces are 3 units of Triari, 2 units of Prankipes, and 5 Evocati cohort, the missile component, 4 auxiliary Syrian archers, and the melee components. 3 Praetorian Cav. I was going to do 2 and 2, but I changed it up due to having leftover funds. And this unit of Legionary Cav rounds out my cavalry, and of course my Legatus is in command. Uh, Patrick's army is a couple of thorax or scale thorax hoplites on the flanks, along with some thorax swords, 1 unit on each side, I believe, yeah. And then 4 pikemen to form a main line to protect his elite Persian archers and his Persian light archers. He also has these 4 nasty units of Hellenic cataphracts and the pièce de résistance, the Indian armored elephants, who are staying back. Now our opponents have come up with something somewhat of an interesting deployment. Which is not something I expected out of Odrysian Kingdom. I might have expected it out of Macedon. But for one thing, they've used the defenses, and they put these pit traps in front of their men as if I had any intention of charging in against Odrysians and pikes. And then you see they lost some of their own guys in their spike pits. I gather that the Odrysian Kingdom guy set up first, and then the Macedonian moved into position with him. This is a strategy that makes 0 sense to me. Now, the only reason I'm showing this battle is not a terribly interesting battle, really, but I want to point this out that know your army's strengths and weaknesses, both that of your faction and that of the army that you have taken. In this case, they have decided to noob box, and they do have some very potent units. There's about 4 units of these max golded Thracian nobles and a whole bunch of Thracian warriors spread out around the edges with chevron upgrades, and then a good whack of these Thracian skirmishers through the middle. The Odrysian kingdoms have taken no cav, but they do have 4 companion cavalry with significant upgrades. Some of them, at least the general unit, is full gold. And he's also got some of these thorax pike and shield bear, some very tough units. But the Thracian, or the Macedonian, has taken no missile units. And you cannot pike box, you cannot noob box without skirmishers. And these Thracian skirmishers simply will not get the job done. They don't have the range to force us to fight the noob box. We are simply going to sit out here, especially since I have 4 archers. Patrick's got 7 archers. We are just going to sit out here and shoot them until we run out of missiles. And they have to know that. Ideally, they should know that when they're taking this build. But they seem not to have realized that. Now, I have this line of spears and these cheaper melee troops out in front, because I figured at some point these Thracian troops were going to break out of their box and come charging at me, and I want my cheaper line to act as a blade of troops, basically, to absorb the charge. The Evocati can come in, they can flank, they can just reinforce directly, and get some good... To absorb the charge on cheaper or tougher units, and then have the potential melee striking power come in and do lots of damage. But you see these, I'm of course going to start targeting these Thracian nobles, and my elite archers have just gone right into heavy shot, since I've seen right away that the only missile units they've got are these Thracian skirmishers, and they can't reach us from here. So really, if they want to challenge our missile fire on them, they're simply going to have to come out and try to skirmish with us. And if they do that, I'm just going to use my infantry to run them back. I'll sweep the cavalry through the middle, try to run them back. And at this point, if you are Macedon or the Odrysian Kingdom, you have got to realize the situation, and you have got to attack. You have got to retreat. You have got to do something. Sometimes the worst decision you can make is no decision at all. You see these very expensive Thracian nobles have already lost, a third of the unit, and some of these pikes are getting caught in that too. And while the Macedonian could weather missile fire reasonably well, the Thracian player is not going to take this missile fire very well in stride. See, they're down to about half strength. And in the interest of making this a little quicker, I'm going to fast forward a bit here coming up. But you see, there's just a swarm of missiles, and they're all going one direction. Nothing is coming back. There's no maneuvering going on. There's a little bit of movement out of the Macedonian cavalry as he's going to start massing on this flank. But Patrick's just going to move his Hellenic cataphracts over here. He's got these thorax swords and scale thorax hoplites to hold them back. So these guys can't really hope to break into our missiles without some help from the infantry. And you see now Patrick has just targeted all his archers on these missile troops, because they're really the only thing that can threaten his elephants. So as these elephants are going to come up, they're not going to have anything that can stop them. It's just a strategy that made absolutely no sense to me, and I hate to pick on guys too much, but I would like to make the point. Build your army for the way you want to fight, and these poorly armored Thracian warriors are just not the kind of troops you want to form a box. Now, if I can't even think of who this would work against, but any faction that's got significant missiles, forget it. I mean, look how fast the Thracian warriors died of missile fire. Finally, they've taken some initiative, and this companion cavalry is trying to run through, and I just backed my archers up, and to avoid getting caught, because I have these guys manually skirmishing. They're not doing anything on their own, so I didn't want them to get caught. So they've forced me to pull back temporarily. But he's just going to take missile fire on his companion cav now. From heavy shot, they're going to take some damage. So that you have to adjust your strategy when it's not working. And this strategy had little chance of working from the beginning anyway. And now it's really not going to work because you're not reacting. See, this whole unit died to no effect. These Thracian nobles are more or less gone. There's a bunch of losses in here, and at some point I'm going to target these Thracian warriors too. Yeah, there it comes. So right away, they're just going to start just dropping like flies. The Macedonian cavalry has moved out here and is engaging Patrick's scale thorax hoplites, and he's going to bring his Hellenic cataphracts in. He is fighting already these companion cav, and these are both very powerful shot cavalry units. The companion cavalry has better attack, but the Hellenic cataphracts have better armor, so these guys are more or less going to stalemate one-on-one. Really, it comes down to whoever gets a better charge and whoever has better support. In this case, Patrick has moved more supporting troops in, and the general is going to try to support, but again, there's more sword units coming in who will help win this fight in a protracted sort of melee situation. And so now, in an effort to get better shots on Macedon, I've moved out here to get shots down the flank of his men, but at this point, the Odyssean player complained that archers are stupid or something to that effect and quit the game, and his troops immediately become aggressive and start running out before I can begin my flank maneuver. So I'm just going to stick with the original plan, leave these Prankaways out to absorb the charge. My cavalry is going to start going over to support Patrick, although I now have a lot of things to keep track of in the infantry fight here. So some of these nobles, despite their excellent morale, are actually going to rout before they even make it to me. And these ones are going to get into these Prankaways, do some good damage. But at this point, except for this unit, they're already pretty much a skeleton force. And they get all blobbed up. The computer's not doing a great job controlling them, so I'm just going to mob them. Now that their charge has run out, these Evocati are going to come in and reinforce. Some Triarii are coming in from behind. And there's not much they can do at this point. Macedon is still playing. He's still under control of his forces, and he's going to come forward and try to engage me, and as well as Patrick's infantry. But at this point, I still have missiles left. They're just shooting him up. And he's advancing, and I've got troops on his flank. He simply can't hold this position. He cannot make a dent with what he's got left. And these spear shield bearer guys are going to form into boxes, which is not a terrible idea. You realize you're just going to try to hold out for as long as you can at this point. And these Thracian nobles actually did some decent damage, but not enough to justify their cost. And at this point, just swarms of Evocati coming from every direction. And these pikes are going to be the last. These elephants are going to come in and get a good charge. My cavalry is pretty much untouched, and it's going to come in and help out. And this is the result of what happens when you have a strategy that is poorly conceived and don't realize and adjust quickly enough. So we'll just actually, as I say, we'll fast forward, but it's pretty much the end anyway, as you see the trap close on the remainder of the Macedonians. And that's it. Yeah, so like I said, this strategy did not make a lot of sense to me from the start, and you see very expensive Thracian noble units accomplishing literally nothing. The Thracian Peltas, between the whole of them, got, what, not even 30 kills. So there was a way to take this army and to use it effectively, but it was not the way that it was being used. You know, if you'd put these guys out in a big line, Thracian skirmishers out in front, Thracian nobles kind of behind, to the rear, and the Thracian warriors taking the first charge. This could have been a very dangerous army had it been used as a rush army. Because you look at this, it looks like a rush build. It should play like a rush build. It should be very effective in that manner. But instead, tried to noob box and didn't have missiles enough to hold back our more capable missiles. So just no good. I mean, look how much damage all of our missile units did. They were pretty much all over 100, and some of them well over 100. I had two of my units that were over 200. And then by the time the melee came, yeah, this Principe got thrashed, but you know what? The heavy infantry came in and suffered almost no losses and finished him off. So take that for what it is, I guess. I don't want to belabor the point anymore. Bring the right tools for the strategy that you intend to employ. And of course, for a pike box, that strategy, or for a noob box, as the parlance goes, the strategy or the tools you need are pikes, or at the very least some sort of missile-resistant infantry, something heavily armored. These shield bearers might have been something that could do it. And the Adrustians could have taken hoplites that would have done it. That would have been something I would not have expected. And then you need missile units with the range and the power to force enemy troops to want to engage your box. So, and really, these guys had basically none of those tools. In any case, take the lesson for what it's worth. Thanks to Patrick for playing as my ally in this one. You know we had a pretty easy time of it, really. And good game, I guess, to Belial and Vitak. Sorry for ragging on you guys on this one, but gotta call it like I see it. But thank you guys all for watching, those of you who watched the whole thing through. Comment if you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, etc. And have a good day.